A tango, a tango.
It's the accumulation rate. So normally, the way we do things is like we work, it costs life energy, we receive cash, we pay for a thing, we buy lunch, right? With cryptocurrency, it's the same thing, except the accumulation rate happens at a much more steep angle, and we own all that part, and we can print cash that we buy lunch with. So we don't use that old method where we're the vehicle that needs to do all the work. We allow our machinery, our calculation, our bond curves, our whatever our digital asset is to make that decision, so that we can, buy lunch and work in that type of way.
And I wish that you knew you sleep.
Greetings. My name is Monique Ruffin, and welcome to Forget Everything You Think You Know. We are in our Sagittarius Full Moon episode, and I am so excited because Sagittarius is really an inspiring, uplifting, energetic energy that is all about adventure and taking on new ideas and allowing yourself to explore foreign territories that will truly allow you to be more of yourself. The powerful thing about Sagittarius is it is governed by the planet Jupiter, which is currently in Pisces right now. And the Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. It is what is often thought of as the king of the solar system or the god of the solar system. And in Kemetic theories or philosophies, Jupiter was often associated with Thoth or Tahuti. Tahuti, the god of knowledge, right? Jupiter is where we source our knowledge and wisdom, where we source information that is beyond what we currently have available to us. So this is a very exciting time because not only are we entering a full moon in Sagittarius, we are also in eclipse season. So every 6 months we have eclipses, and eclipses are when the sun, the moon, and the earth are aligned, either in a semi relationship or a full relationship, and the light that comes to our earth realm has been obstructed in some way. So it gives us this opportunity to reboot our psyches. The light is what governs our psyches, and the reboot in an eclipse is simply it's as simple as like when you turn your computer off and then turn it back on. So we're going to be uploading new information, and this to have a eclipse in Sagittarius, we're also having a Mercury retrograde, which is happening in the sign opposite of Sagittarius, which is Gemini. Gemini governs our perception and how we source information. So we are going to be taking in new information that will allow us to live new lives, to build new realities, to step into new ways of being, to access new powers and belief systems that would encourage us to be more than we've ever been before. So this is a really profound time to be alive. We are having or experiencing astrological transits that people in thousands of years have not experienced. And what's adjusting is the energy on the planet, which means that it will impact us. We live in an energetic base system. Energy is the only thing that we're ever experiencing, whether it's energy that looks solid because of matter, or it's energy that is unseen, or cycles that govern energy and that run us from one experience into another. It's all energy. So the energy on the planet is renewing itself. This is a cycle that the planet has been going through for billions of years. We are new to this because we have never lived through it, but it's real. We live at a time right now where science doesn't necessarily align to the science of astrology. And so it's not considered as something that is valid, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Just like we don't see gravity, gravity is having an effect on us all the time. So with that, I am excited to have the conversation about the Sagittarius full moon. I'm going to ask you to sit down and relax. We're going to have a conversation with a gentleman who is an expert in cryptocurrency. The reason that this is the conversation is because it is new territory. It's almost like the wild, wild west. And this isn't time for adventure. Many of us might be afraid because we've seen so many things happen in our lives and on the earth that we've never seen before. And I understand that, and that is okay. I am not suggesting that you should not consider your fears or take your time or do your research or your due diligence. I'm not saying that you should jump into anything without being comfortable. But what I am suggesting and offering is that you are willing to think about things that are new, to consider that old things die and go away and new things show up. And with the Sagittarius full moon, with an eclipse and a Mercury retrograde and a Saturn retrograde, all of these retrogrades are telling us to look back at who we've been, how it's worked, if it's worked, and then begin to make the adjustments to renew ourselves, to renew our minds, to heal ourselves from family trauma, to heal the karma, to transmute our thoughts and ways of being so that we can renew ourselves. And when I was a Christian, there was a Bible that says, "Be thee renewed by the transformation of your mind." And that is exactly what we're doing here in this Sagittarius energy. So welcome everyone again to Forget Everything You Think You Know. I am your host, Monique Ruffin. And today we're going to have Mario Jefferson here with us. Welcome, Mario. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Monique?
I'm good. What you been up to?
Oh my gosh, things have been really interesting in the cryptocurrency space these days. A lot of volatility, a lot of really interesting and exciting new protocols coming out. A lot of changing of the guard level material coming out these days. It's really exciting.
That is very exciting. So I would love it if you would tell our listening audience about who you are and then what got you involved with cryptocurrency.
Well, my name's Mario Jefferson. I'm a fiscal activist for cryptocurrency. I like to consider myself through my history as an activist first, because it's so important that we develop systems that build exits off of this thing we're on, this ride we don't really have that much control over. We're all slowly starting to realize. So being deep into activism and wanting to find a real way out at the end of Occupy, I really got into cryptocurrency, primarily Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so those two protocols really helped point the direction in terms of what it would look like for our communities if we were building exits off of this existing thing and how we would fiscally manage ourselves. So, yeah, activism and cryptocurrency, deep dives. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I just heard you say Occupy. Tell me, I remember the language Occupy. I remember the movement around Occupy. Tell us just a little bit about your involvement with that and what called you into that.
Well, I was just really interested in that whole narrative of the 99%. And it was really interesting watching it take off in New York. And so in Los Angeles, I had just gotten here. It was a really big deal. We published a newspaper I put together. And so that was really interesting. So Occupy LA it was actually run by Bitcoin for a while. And, I think at one point we had about $300,000 in Bitcoin, like early Bitcoin. So there's no tell we'd still be around if we had some of the technology we have today back then, but we just didn't. So to have the revolution go and require that you spent Bitcoin, and that just meant that was your lifeblood you were spending. So it was very difficult to maintain it while we were at the same time bleeding it. So, but it was interesting to watch and to see that, in my opinion, the last earnest attempt at grassroots, activism, up until Black Lives Matter.
Cool. That's very interesting. So cryptocurrency. So let me start by saying that I'm really ignorant when it comes to cryptocurrency. Because I'm friends with you, I've been doing a little bit of dabbling and I've been purchasing a little bit here and there because I want to learn. And I believe that it is important to keep my mind fresh and to stay present, because I also believe that our system is dying, that our economic system, does not serve the masses in the way that it could. I believe that economic system then handicaps how we can be educated, how we can manage food and health. That economic system then restricts the way we can move through the world. Like all of that is a part of how our economic system is unbalanced now. So tell me why crypto, and why do you believe that it is an answer for our community moving forward?
Oh, good question. I think first and foremost that the most important thing is like access to capital. One of the things that really keep us out is that we don't have access to capital. We'll apply for a loan and get denied. We'll, go through all of these, processes that other people don't even bat an eye at. There's just all this red tape and red lining to get past, to get anywhere in America. Like even in California, LA particularly, we just left Manhattan Beach a little while ago, and there's already, the story about the Bruce family having their land taken from them by the state. And so we've been failed so many times by this system. We have to build something that gets us off of it. And the first most important way to do that is by, providing a method of access to capital that doesn't set you back 1,000 years. Because if you don't have access to money, you might as well be living, in the Stone Age, So being able to have systems that can allow you to accumulate easier and maintain that wealth and pass it on to future generations is what provides upward momentum other races have been able to take advantage of. But when it's denied other people, you're just like always playing catch up. And so for me, the real value add came through when after I laid down all of my scrutiny and skepticism about these protocols, I really saw that if we do it loud enough and with enough transparency, we could do really interesting things together. So I really feel like being able to collectively be that platform where we raise our own money, we track our own money, we spend our own money, we keep our money in our own community. That's the way we can insulate ourselves from bad actors and hostile environments. So, right now we have to pretty much depend on the system that was crushing us and still very, very much still is crushing us. So it's like the silliness of expecting them to help while also they're killing us is just not, logically feasible, reasonable, or smart in other terms. So exiting, that system which doesn't serve you and building something else, it's a risky gamble. We still have some comforts, but there's a lot we give up when we're really overly invested in the system that consumes us. So that value add just really struck me really hard with cryptocurrency. I was like, I did this really deep dive and I stayed down until like all my questions were answered. And I came up with really good resolve about it. So I had been on that path pretty much since then.
Wow, that's really fascinating. So I heard you say something about, like you said that you were in Manhattan Beach, and there's a story about a family that owns some property there. Is that what you're talking about? Would you share that story a little bit with our listening audience? Because and how like crypto could be a solution in these sort of scenarios.
Right. Well, first of all, the state itself, the city of Los Angeles, used eminent domain to seize a Black family's land. I think their name was the Bruce family, and seize their property that would become, what is now Manhattan Beach. So now the city's about to give that property back to its last heir. But everything about that system was corrupt, from the method they used to take the property to their ability to keep them from, being able to use any other traditional legal methods. It's like just the little games that they play. So one of the really powerful pieces that we have available to us now is like this ability to purchase property outside of traditional state systems. And so and pass down ownership that are getting closer to representing real life real estate. We still have a little way to go. But the idea we see coming into the foreground nowadays is that a lot of these derivative services that are about to hit the blockchain will be able to do like real finance. There's already people purchasing houses, but being able to manage your own deed and own it are other really powerful ideas. And so that way, when there's a hostile state, there are other places you can appeal to that aren't so racistly bound. So there's a lot of potential in that. And I feel like that's a much more interesting game to play versus the one that you know is kneecapped against you. All the consensus mechanisms of our current system are laid bare in their flaws. It's like you can hear about a sitting president corrupting an election, without effort, in our own lifetimes. Like, the most important, some of the most important consensus mechanisms of our society are just, openly fooled with, and we're the information age. And so we're literally being poisoned by our leaders, and no one's even, using the right language to confront it in a modern a way. And so it's really embarrassing. So to be able to confront that without still being consumed by it is to leave it, so it's kind of like, if you were playing war games, that Matthew Broderick movie, the best way to win at nuclear war is to not participate. So if you're damned if you do and damned if you're dealt with them, don't mess with them and just go build your own thing. And so your own thing is your own blockchain where your money lives inside of your own echo chamber. It doesn't really leave. And that's a beautiful idea, because for people who didn't have access to capital, for them to be able to now say, we can protect ourselves and insulate ourselves from the bad actors that would burn down our communities, take our houses, remove us from our vote. Like, oh my God, don't even get me started with the voting issues. But when this comes back to like these consensus mechanisms, you can easily find several really interesting consensus mechanisms that make this modern democracy very sketchy in appearance. It's like, this is what runs the world now. Cryptocurrency already runs the world now. So, well, more accurately, cryptography already runs the world now. So it's just transitioning on from just cryptography to cryptography-based money in those systems. So being able to own your own identity, your own property, your own money, when you have that kind of power, you don't really need permission from the state to validate you with their ID systems, credit systems, financial systems, or any of those. And so that's a real move you can apply. You might think that, cryptocurrency is really unstable. It doesn't do any heavy lifting outside of trading. I would think that would be a very big mistake to consider. There's so much more going on with crypto outside of its price action. And I think that's where our attention really should be, and not on Dogecoin. If cryptocurrency in all its plurality just boiled down to Dogecoin, you missed a lot. You really missed a lot. And so that part, you want to talk about that part. So like, what about these permissionless systems, where everyone can vote and you can verify it, we're looking at our,
because I don't know anything about Dogecoin, right? So I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not sure where you're going to go with that. But I want to ask you, because the thought of people giving up something we've always known. We've always known the dollar bill. We've always known Bank of America, Chase, we've always known that. So even as you're totally accurate in talking about how this government oppresses and crushes us and goes out of its way to do so in the housing market, in the voting market, in the medical, it's all out of alignment with health and well-being for, I think, all people, honestly, unless you can access something outside of it, but it doesn't work well. So the question is, how do we get people? I don't even know if that's, how do we create an environment so that we can feel comfortable stepping outside of this old way of being? Because I am doing I've been investing and buying some, but I still don't know how to move forward with it. I still, so how do you get people to believe it, to take the risk to, how did you do it? Why are you where you are?
Right. Well, the funny part was that I had to go through a lot of ups and downs with it. So during all of that, there was several opportunities for me to take really good notes and good stock about how to evaluate these types of systems. And so ultimately, it's a journey. First of all, you're not going to get it in the afternoon. The best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So first and foremost, and so starting from there, it's really about your power and where you want to start with your power. So some people start with finance, and they go immediately into buying Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever currency you're into and storing it. And that's the thing. And then you find a cryptocurrency that has a good price, but also does something really interesting, like Decentraland. Decentraland is a virtual metasphere, that you can own. So that's amazing, and it has a coin that you can make money off of. And so eventually, on this journey, you start. You see, first thing that'll happen is you'll buy some, and it'll go splat, and you'll put in $100. It's worth $58, and you're like, oh well. And then you'll check on it, and then it's worth $1,500, and now you're invested. So when that $50 turns into $1,500, it's like, okay, something's going on here. The accumulation rate is the first thing that really snatches your attention, because that accumulation rate, if you finagle it just the right way, it can really do some amazing things if you let it. Mm-hmm. So that's really how I got on that path. And so then it got into I really like to develop for this protocol and go down the developer path. And so ultimately we get to this phase where it's like, this stuff is moving so fast. You really need a community. You really need a team to be doing some things. You need a person who's like a day trader. You need someone who's a prospector. You need someone who's an educator. You need someone doing security. And so having done all of these positions, it was really easy to see, it's like, yo, we really have to have some of these positions, because it can be a little difficult to keep your head on straight in these environments. And so that was initially how my path got started. So dabbling in trying to be a day trader. I'm not trying to do that. Going on to doing security. And so just having to do all of those.
Right. So here's the thing that I'm aware of in this is that for somebody like myself who had a job, would work so many hours and then get money, right? Mm-hmm. What I hear you talking about is that cryptocurrency changes that relationship with money. Mm. It's not
absolutely
just working, like doing something, giving your energy and time in exchange for money. So that's a huge concept in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. Like, I don't even know how to stop thinking that way, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so this is about a whole new relationship with economy and wealth and creating money and generating money. And so for our listeners,
think about it like this. Mm-hmm. Think about it like this. So repeat after me. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin has no military, has no police force, no political class, no aggressive laws, no oppression systems. It's not financing the overthrow of other governments. It's just currency for the sake of currency. Nation state currency comes with police budgets, white supremacy, nationalism, and all these other isms and all these other systems that we've been trying to get away from. So that's the first base that's helpful. So the fact that you can't, that you can't even take a picture with real money in like a movie. It's like illegal. It's like, it's not your property. Mm-hmm. Cryptocurrency doesn't care. As long as you own the keys to it, you can do whatever you want with it. So if you wanted to make your own sovereign currency and be your own sovereign, monarch, you could do that. There's nobody stopping you. You could turn paying your taxes into a transaction you just pay out of your own petty cash. Mm-hmm. So these are all things that you have the ability to control. So I think that's a really powerful place to begin.
So yes, it is. And I think when I'm hearing you, I'm also realizing that currency is something we exchange. So right now we have a dollar bill or a $10 mm-hmm. or we have a credit card, and mm-hmm. I can go to 7-Eleven and buy a Coca-Cola. I give them $1, mm-hmm. and they give me the Coca-Cola. But right. Can I do that with Bitcoin? Can I go into 7-Eleven with Bitcoin and buy
Absolutely.
Those are the things that become, because that's all people really care about is, can I use this to get what mm-hmm. I want? Can I pay my
Absolutely.
rent? Can I eat with
Absolutely.
it? Okay.
Absolutely. I've been doing that part for a while. And I think we're on like our second or third year just using this technology to really serve us. We've been in since 2017, but we haven't been this efficient since specifically CDPs or collateralized debt positions came to be. And so real briefly, a collateralized debt position is essentially taking your Bitcoin that you own and being able to print dollars off against it that you can send to your Visa and buy lunch, buy dinner, pay down a credit card, buy a house, buy a boat, and still own that Bitcoin. We're so used to our assets, to just having absolute value in our assets. So here we're able to live off of the margin of our own currency. So if you manage it tactfully, you can do some really amazing things with it. And that part really changes the way you work with money. It's really interesting. A lot of people are using it, and so it's just a financial tool that would, if Bank of America did it, they'd probably charge you like $200 a year just to use it, or some other absorbent fee. But the fact that you own the collateralization process, you own when you return the money, you own the whole part of that. You're your own financial institution. So being able to send it to your own Visa card is like being able to, ignite a fire. It's a free throw in the cryptocurrency space, but to be able to do it is a real, it's a real gift. I feel like it really takes you out of the rat race and changes your relationship with money, just because you control, you get to manage your debt in a certain way that gives you this interesting ability to generate new money at the most opportune times. It's really fantastic. I like it.
Wow.
A lot.
That is amazing. Okay, so tell me about your life now and how, like, your relation, like, how do you move through the world? And, can you shop for clothes, and can you buy an airline ticket, and, and your work and all, like, just a little bit of that, because the question is, how can people maintain a level of normalcy? Not that, like, be empowered, but also it's this, like, what I'm realizing is, like I said, I have a relationship with, I do this work, you give me this money. And that has been my relationship with money. Like, so what I hear you talking about, this episode is about the foreign thing. This stuff is so foreign to me. Like,
it is foreign. It's the accumulation rate. So normally, the way we do things is like we work, it costs life energy, we receive cash, we pay for a thing, we buy lunch, right? With cryptocurrency, it's the same thing, except the accumulation rate happens at a much more steep angle, and we own all that part, and we can print cash that we buy lunch with. So we don't use that old method where we're the vehicle that needs to do all the work. We allow our machinery, our calculation, our bond curves, our whatever our digital asset is to make that decision, so that we can, buy lunch and work in that type of way. Specifically, I'm talking about Maker as a protocol. Maker as a protocol, its first thing is to show you how to collateralize your Bitcoin so that you can manage it in a certain way. So I think that's probably the first most important step to, like, really get grounded in the space, like, just to see that to generate DAI or generate your own currency is a real interesting feature. And if it doesn't work with Apple Pay or any other, fancy KYC tolerant or know your own customer banking, regulatory compliant institution, you have to have kind of both of them. You have to be able to kind of maintain your autonomy and your privacy and have public arms that allow you to use existing systems. So you take what's offered, you use what's available. And so we might not trust these systems, but we should be able to buy dinner regardless. So that's really important.
Wow. Well, I am more curious.
Right.
I am more curious, and that's perfect. Like, I know more now than I did before you and I got on this call. I've been listening and doing a little bit of research in the last, like, 6 weeks or so. So I'm around people who are part of it and who, like yourself, really believe that it is a wave of the future. I am interested in that. And I do know that the young ones, like, I know our world is changing because I read astrology. Astrology lets me know, like, right now, Uranus is like the like new energy is in Taurus. Taurus is money. So there's a lot of new energy coming through our our economy and how we process money. That's because Uranus is there. So I trust the astrology. So
right.
that's why I can sit here and have a conversation with you and know that what you're saying is valid. And I love this idea. It's like a gold rush. It's like the California gold rush, even though I wasn't alive then. We are in a new time. And
absolutely. It's really significant. Like this offering that's available to us, it's a real pivot off of that scarcity model. Like, you know, how many times have you heard over the course of your life where your government money was shy, so they have to pull out some austerity measure, and now people are suffering, and there's stuff out in the streets. The fact that we can build our own liquidity models that make room for us with no matter how much capital we have is like a guarantee to mathematically put everybody in the system so that they can do business with everybody else without any state approval. That's powerful. It's like if I were a part of the state and I didn't want people to know that, I would definitely talk about Dogecoin and just keep it about a joke and Elon Musk, and just so that people will totally miss that. But there's so many powerful concepts at work in cryptocurrency, plural. It's like just to be able to own your identity. For example, Facebook, Apple, Google, Netflix, all these companies have huge data sets of information about us because they own our identities. But when we can use several of these other crypto protocols that allow us to own our own identity, and if anybody wants to use it, pay us for it directly, and be able to manage that relationship through like traditional command and control features, that's really powerful. And so I'm really excited about that part because it's so easily to miss it, to just think it's just about money. It's really, there's so much more here. This is about your very personhood. And I'm not talking about like in my Jimmy Swaggart voice, like this is about your eternal soul. No, it's more about your digital self in this regard, by just being able to manage it yourself without having people finagle your information like they do. And so that's a powerful concept. Before crypto earns you any money, the fact that you can get that much closer to owning your own identity in the face of all this craziness is just a really powerful concept. We should probably all point more attention to, sincere attention, less sensational and, bombastic type of, news coverage, just purely speculating on price. It's such an old idea. And lastly, these old ideas that we get to let die are like these mechanisms about our hourly wage and how they work as they relate to those dying systems. I know so many people who turned their little paycheck from Burger King into a CDP deposit that allowed them to eventually print out their own money, and on a spike of Ethereum, lift themselves out of the rat race. That's the thing. It's risky out here. It's absolutely scary. But to the courageous and to the learned, you can learn some really interesting stuff out here. So, or at least partner with those people. But buyer beware. I'm not gonna lie. It's hella scammy out here. It's like, so there's all this promise and potential, but I honestly believe that your best friend is your own skepticism. It's like your ability to ask questions and evaluate, not give up any money. I tell people, if you're investing in this space, put yourself on a $25 limit just so you can do simple things that a new person should do, versus getting into like a really, hey, let me hold $4,000 and I'll give it back to you Tuesday with 25% return. And like, whoa, this is a sales call now? These types of, it is so much of that going on in this environment. And just to be able to manage this part yourself without anybody's approval is like, it takes a little effort and a little trial and error to get there. But there are ways that you can go about learning through discovery without over investing or getting too deep into a protocol you really shouldn't. So just by qualifying things properly when you first get started would really go a long way.
That's beautiful. Well, I have done my best having a conversation about something I really don't know anything about. So I pray that the listeners, like, I really wanted to bring Mario to you because I feel like it is important for us to think out of the box and do things differently. So if you could just maybe, I don't know if you do coaching or whatever it is, like, do you want to point people to come look for you, or is there a book, or is there a website?
Right.
Something that might be supportive, whatever feels comfortable for you. But if you could just share, you know.
In the immediate future, you can easily find me on Twitter. I'm super approachable. I do some private coaching, but I'm a little full at the moment. But we do have a course in September that we'll be pulling out for V2 with Progressive Love Academy. And we'll be doing another introduction into crypto and CDP management course, which goes over like how to manage a CDP, how to use the volatility to your benefit, and all those good things. But yeah, easily find me on Twitter. Look out for our V2 of our summer course on how to get into crypto and manage a CDP.
And give me your Instagram address. What is that?
Oh, Orami, ORA_MI on Twitter. Same thing on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mario. This has been a lesson in expansion, because that is what Sagittarius is about. It's about expanding past our comfort zone, getting uncomfortable, and having adventures that lead us into our best selves. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining me, Monique Ruffin. Forget everything you think you know for the Sagittarius Full Moon episode. If you are interested in looking at the courses and the things that I'm offering to support the listeners and communities in transformation and changing, you can check out my website, which is moniquecruffin.com. You can also follow me at Instagram. That is @Monique Ruffin. And you can follow me on Twitter, which is also Monique Ruffin, and on Facebook, Monique Ruffin. It is my pleasure to support you. It is my pleasure to bring us new ideas and new choices and new ways of being to consider for our happiness, for our freedom, and for our peace. Have a wonderful, wonderful 2 weeks. I'll be back again at the Gemini New Moon. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.
We listen to jazz in the living room. The feeling we know but don't surrender to. Trying to remember who am I?